stood at the observation window of station and watched the ships come and go. Her silver fur caught the light of distant stars. Her amber eyes saw everything and revealed nothing. She was the youngest alpha female in history to command a diplomatic fleet, and she had earned that title through blood, cunning, and a complete refusal to show weakness. Behind her, the council elder cleared his throat. She did not turn around. "You have rejected another petition," he said. His voice carried the weight of disapproval that only old males could manage. "That makes 47, Alpha. 47 of our finest males, and you have found fault with every single one." "They found fault with themselves," replied. "I simply noticed." The elder moved closer. She could smell his frustration, sharp and bitter beneath the surface calm. The communicated through scent as much as words. Every emotion left its mark in the air. She had learned long ago to read others while keeping her own scent locked down tight. "The council has reached a decision," the elder said. "You have one solar cycle to accept a bondmate. If you fail to do so, you will be stripped of your rank and reassigned to administrative duties." Now she turned. The elder took a step back despite himself. Was not large by standards, but something in her presence made even senior males nervous. "You would waste my talents because I refuse to breed on command. We would remind you that our society functions on bonded pairs. An unbonded alpha is unstable, dangerous, incomplete." He straightened his robes. "This is not punishment, Alpha, this is protection, for you and for everyone under your command." Said nothing. The elder waited for an argument that did not come. After a long moment he left. She turned back to the window. One solar cycle. 312 standard days to find a male who did not bore her, disgust her, or make her want to tear out his throat. She had begun to believe such a male did not exist among her people. The problem was simple. Bonding worked through scent. When an alpha female encountered a compatible male, her body knew before her mind did. Her blood warmed, her senses sharpened. Every instinct screamed claim and keep in mind. She had waited her entire adult life for that reaction. It had never come. Not once. Not with warriors or scholars or diplomats or princes. They all smelled the same to her. Like ambition and hunger and the desperate need to possess something they had not earned. She was beginning to think she was broken. 3 levels below, in the maintenance corridors that no one important ever visited, pushed his cleaning cart through another hallway. He had been on station for 2 years now, long enough to learn which species left what kind of mess, which corridors got traffic at what hours, and which elevators broke down most often. He was 34 years old, brown hair going gray at the temples, average height, average build, average everything. He had come to alien space because Earth's colonies paid well for people willing to do dirty work in strange places. The money helped his sister pay for his nephew's medical treatments. That was reason enough. The who ran this station barely noticed him. He was furniture to them, a necessary function that required no acknowledgement. This suited fine. He had learned that invisibility was a kind of freedom. No one expected anything from a janitor. No one watched him. No one cared what he thought or felt or wanted. He stopped outside a storage closet to refill his chemical supplies. Through the wall, he could hear 2 officers talking. Their language had been loaded into his translator chip, so the words came through clear enough. "Did you hear? The alpha female rejected another one, Lord himself this time. She is mad, is the finest warrior in the fleet. What more could she want? Who knows what she wants? Perhaps nothing. Perhaps she is simply broken." Shook his head and moved on. Alien politics. It had nothing to do with him. 2 days later, everything changed. The diplomatic reception in the main atrium was the biggest event of the season. Ambassadors from 12 species mingled beneath crystal chandeliers. Servants moved through the crowd with food and drink. Security officers watched from every corner. Was not supposed to be anywhere near it. But a chemical spill in the service corridor had spread toward the atrium's environmental systems, and if someone did not contain it fast, the entire reception would be swimming in caustic fumes within the hour. He worked quickly, sealing off the leak, neutralizing the acid, clearing the contaminated air through emergency vents. The fumes burned his eyes and throat, but humans were tougher than most species gave them credit for. He had worked through worse. He was finishing up when she walked past. Had been leaving the reception early. These events bored her. The same conversations, the same posturing, the same males trying to catch her eye. She moved through a side corridor to avoid the crowds. The smell hit her first. It was unlike anything she had encountered. Complex, layered. There was sweat and effort and something chemical beneath it, but there was also something else. Something that made her stop mid-stride and turn her head. A human, small and furless and utterly unremarkable. He was covered in grime and bent over a maintenance panel, his hands steady as he worked. He did not notice her. He was focused entirely on his task. Breath deep. Her blood warmed, her senses sharpened. Every instinct she had went quiet and then came roaring back with a single overwhelming message. Claim, keep mine. No, that was impossible. The bond response only triggered for compatible males. It could not activate for an alien. It certainly could not activate for a human custodian who did not even know she was standing there. She took another breath. The response intensified. Her claws extended slightly before she caught herself and forced them back. The human finished his work and stood up. He turned and finally saw her. His eyes widened a little. She was clearly important, clearly someone far above his station. "Sorry, ma'am," he said. His voice was calm, respectful but not afraid. "Chemical spill should be safe now." He gathered his equipment and walked away without another word. He did not bow. He did not grovel. He simply did his job and left. Stood in the corridor for a long time after he was gone. Her heart was still racing. Her blood was still hot. She could still smell him, fatting slowly from the recycled air. She did not understand what had just happened, but she knew with terrible certainty that nothing would be the same again. Told herself she was conducting research. That was all. Simple scientific curiosity about an unusual biological reaction, nothing more. She obtained the human's personnel file within the hour. Age 34, born on Earth, raised in a place called Ohio. No military service, no special skills, no family on the station. He had worked as a maintenance technician for 6 years, the last 2 on station. His performance reviews were acceptable. His disciplinary record was clean. He was, by every measure, completely ordinary. She could not stop thinking about him. For the first 3 days, she tracked his schedule through the station's security systems. She learned that he worked the early morning shift in the residential sectors, then moved to the commercial areas in the afternoon. He ate lunch alone in a small maintenance break room on level 7. He went to bed early and woke before the station's artificial dawn. On the 4th day, she started following him. She kept her distance and masked her scent with blockers designed for covert diplomatic work. She watched him clean corridors and repair broken fixtures and unclog waste processors. She watched him help a lost pup find her parents without asking for thanks. She watched him repair an elderly alien's broken mobility device during his lunch break, refusing any payment. She watched him work with care and patience on tasks that no one would ever notice or reward. And every time she caught his scent, her body responded the same way. Her blood sang. Her instincts screamed. She wanted to cross the distance between them and bury her face in his neck and breathe him in until she could not tell where his scent ended and hers began. It was madness. It was impossible. She needed to understand. Late on the 7th night, she accessed the station's xenobiology database and pulled every record on human physiology that existed. She read for hours. What she found changed everything. Pheromones were fixed at birth. Each individual had a unique sense signature that never changed. Compatibility was determined by genetics, and the bond response activated only when two genetically suitable individuals encountered each other. It was simple, predictable, scientific. Humans were different. Human biochemistry was chaos. Their scent signatures shifted constantly based on emotion, health, diet, stress, and 100 other factors. They did not smell like genetics. They smelled like choices. A frightened human smelled different from a brave one facing the same danger. A cruel human smelled different from a kind one in the same circumstances. Read the passage 3 times to make sure she understood. Human scent was not about what they were. It was about who they were. She thought about. She thought about the way he had worked through caustic fumes without complaint, the way he had helped strangers without seeking credit, the way he moved through the station doing difficult, thankless work with quiet competence and apparent contentment. He smelled like courage, like kindness, like someone who had chosen to be good in a galaxy that did not reward goodness. And somehow, impossibly, that combination had triggered her bond response more powerfully than any genetically perfect male ever had. She needed to talk to him. It took her 2 more days to find an excuse. She deliberately spilled a cleaning solution in her own quarters and then filed a maintenance request. When he arrived, she was waiting. Checked his twice when he saw who lived here. An alpha female, one of the most powerful beings on the station. He had never been in officer territory before. "You requested maintenance?" he asked. "Yes, a spill, there." She pointed to a spot on the floor that was already half dry. He looked at it, he looked at her. Something flickered in his eyes. Confusion, maybe, or suspicion. But he simply nodded and got to work. Watched him from across the room. She had prepared a dozen excuses to start a conversation, but now that he was here, her carefully planned words had abandoned her. "That artifact," said, breaking the silence. He nodded toward a carved stone figure on her shelf. "What is it?" She blinked. No one ever asked about her personal items. No one dared. "It is a memory keeper," she said. "From my mother gave it to me when I left for the academy." "It's beautiful." He finished cleaning and stood up. "My grandmother had something like that. A wooden box she kept old photographs in. She said objects hold pieces of the people who loved them." Stared at him. "Your grandmother sounds wise." "She was." He smiled a little. A sad smile, like someone remembering a good thing that was gone. "She passed when I was 20. Still miss her sometimes." "I am sorry." "Thank you." He started packing up his equipment. "Well, that should do it. Let me know if you need anything else." "Wait." He paused. Did not know what she wanted to say. She only knew that she was not ready for him to leave. Would you tell me more about your grandmother, about Earth?" Looked at her for a long moment. She could smell his uncertainty, but beneath it was something else. Curiosity, maybe, interest. "Sure," he said. "I've got a few minutes." They talked for an hour, then 2. He told her about Ohio winters and summer thunderstorms and the way his grandmother made apple pie. She told him about the ice forests and the songs her people sang during the long dark season. They talked about nothing important and everything important. They talked like 2 people who had just discovered that they were not as different as the galaxy had told them they should be. When he finally left, stood in the middle of her quarters and realized that she was smiling. She could not remember the last time she had smiled like this. Genuine and unguarded and completely without purpose. She was in serious trouble. And she was not the only one who had noticed. Across the station, in the military command center, Lord reviewed the security logs that his aide had flagged. The alpha female had been spending time in the maintenance corridors. She had requested a custodian to her quarters. The same custodian, a human. Was not a fool. He knew something had changed something had distracted her, and now he knew what. He would deal with it. Was cleaning the windows on level 12, when the soldiers came. There were 4 of them, big males in military uniforms. They walked with the easy confidence of predators who had never been prey. The one in front was larger than the others, with dark gray fur and cold yellow eyes. "You are the human," the leader said. It was not a question. Set down his cleaning supplies. "Can I help you?" "I am Lord, Commander of the Third Fleet. I have reviewed your assignment records and found them inadequate for station needs," smiled. His teeth were very white and very sharp. "You are being reassigned. Reactor maintenance. Sector 9. New Sector 9. Everyone knew Sector 9. The reactor tunnels were old and unstable. Radiation leaks happened monthly. 3 workers had died there in the past year. "With respect, sir, I'm not qualified for reactor work. I don't have the training." "Then you will learn," stepped closer. He was nearly twice height. "Or you will not. Either way, you will report to your new assignment at first light tomorrow. Do you understand?" Understood. He did not understand why, but he understood what was happening. Someone powerful wanted him gone, maybe dead. "Yes, sir," he said. Nodded and walked away. His soldiers followed, stood alone in the corridor and wondered what he had done wrong. Found out 6 hours later. She had been reviewing diplomatic communications when her aide mentioned the transfer order. A routine personnel shuffle, nothing important, but the name caught her attention and she pulled the full record. Sector 9, reactor maintenance, effective immediately. She was at his office before she even realized she had decided to go. He was waiting for her, sitting behind his desk with that smug smile that she had always hated. The smell of his satisfaction filled the room. "Alpha, what an unexpected pleasure. You reassigned my maintenance technician." "Your maintenance technician," tilted his head. "I was not aware that custodial staff belonged to anyone. They serve the station, not individual officers." "Do not play games with me. I know what Sector 9 is. I know what you are trying to do." "I am trying to ensure optimal station operations." He stood and walked around his desk. The human was wasted in residential cleaning. His skills are better suited to reactor work. His skills will get him killed. Then we will find another human. They breed quickly enough, I understand. Felt her claws extend. She forced herself to breathe, to stay calm, to think. "I am countermanding your order," she said. "As alpha female, I have authority over non-military personnel assignments. The human stays where he is." Smile vanished. "You would challenge my authority over a janitor." "I would challenge you over a dust mite if you abused your power to arrange its death." The silence stretched between them. Scent shifted from satisfaction to something darker, rage, humiliation, the smell of a male whose pride had been wounded. "Very well," he said softly. "If that is how you want it, I invoke." Went still. The formal challenge of dominance, an ancient rite that predated this journey to the stars. When 2 alphas could not resolve a dispute through words, they resolved it through combat. The loser submitted to the winner's judgment in all matters related to the original dispute. If she lost, could do whatever he wanted with, and with her. "You cannot be serious," she said. "I am always serious." His eyes glittered. "You have made me look foolish for the last time. Accept my challenge or forfeit by default. Either way, I will have satisfaction." She should have refused. She should have found another way. But she could smell on herself even now, hours after their last conversation. She could feel the bond pull singing in her blood, and she knew that if she walked away would destroy him. "I accept," she said. The news spread through the station within hours. By the next morning, everyone knew. The alpha female had accepted a challenge from Lord. Combat would take place in 3 days. Heard about it from an engineer named, one of the few aliens on the station who actually talked to him like a person. They were sitting in the maintenance break room. Was explaining the situation in small words, watching his face carefully. "This is about me," said when she finished, "isn't it?" "Yes." "Why, what did I do?" Hesitated, her sense shifted in a way that could not read. "You did nothing. It is what she did. The alpha female has shown you attention, interest. In our culture, this is significant. We just talked, that's all." Talk is never just talk," leaned forward. "Lord believed he would bond with. He has believed this for many years. When she rejected him, he was shamed. When she then showed interest in you, a human, a maintenance worker." She spread her hands. His pride could not survive it. Sat back, his mind was racing. "She's going to fight him because of me." "Yes." "Can she win?" Said nothing. Her silence was answer enough. That night packed his bag. He did not have much. A few clothes, a photograph of his family, a wooden box that had belonged to his grandmother. He was going to leave, remove himself from the equation. If he was gone, could withdraw from the challenge, would have his victory without blood. Everyone would be safe. He was at the docking bay, waiting for a transport, when she found him. Stood in the entrance. She was not in her formal robes. She wore simple clothes, dark and practical. Without her rank and symbols, she looked younger, more vulnerable. "You are leaving," she said. "I'm causing problems. If I go, you can call off the fight." "I could," she walked closer, "but I will not." "Why, you barely know me. I'm nobody. I'm just a janitor." She stopped in front of him, close enough that he could see the amber of her eyes, the silver sheen of her fur. Close enough that she could smell him, and he could see the effect it had on her. "Tell me something," she said. "Do you actually want me to stay, or am I just a weapon in your political fight?" The question hit her like a physical blow. She opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time since he had known her, she looked uncertain. "I do not know," she said finally. I have not felt this before. I do not know what I want. I only know that when I think of you in danger, something inside me breaks." Looked at her for a long moment. Then he picked up his bag. "Figure it out," he said, "and when you do, come find me. Until then, I'll stay out of your way." He walked past her and back into the station. He did not look back. Behind him, stood alone in the docking bay, surrounded by the smell of engine fuel and recycled air, and the fading trace of a human who had just walked away from her. She had 3 days until the fight, 3 days to understand her own heart. She got to work. Did not sleep for 2 days. She spent the first night in meditation, the ancient practice her mother had taught her as a child. She sat in darkness and let her thoughts come and go like waves on a shore. She asked herself the question had asked her. What did she want? What was this feeling inside her? Was it real, or was it just rebellion against a society that demanded she bond with someone she could not respect? The answer came slowly, piece by piece. She thought about the 47 males she had rejected. Each one had been powerful, successful, genetically suitable. Each one had approached her like she was a prize to be won, a territory to be claimed. None of them had ever asked her opinion on anything that mattered. None of them had ever treated her like a person instead of a position. Had asked her about her mother's memory keeper. He had shared stories about his grandmother. He had looked at her with curiosity instead of hunger. He had walked away when she could not give him a straight answer because he respected himself enough to demand honesty. He had no power, no status, no reason for her to notice him at all, and yet he carried himself with a quiet dignity that none of her suitors had ever shown. He was kind without expecting reward. He worked hard without seeking praise. He existed in the galaxy without trying to dominate it. She realized, sitting in the darkness, that this was what she had been waiting for. Not genetic compatibility, not political advantage, just someone who saw her as instead of alpha female, someone who would walk beside her instead of behind her or in front of her. She loved him. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like coming home. The second night, she prepared for the fight. Was a warrior. He had trained for combat since childhood. His body was a weapon honed through decades of practice, was a diplomat. Her weapons were words and strategy and patience. In a straight fight, she would lose. So she would not fight straight. She studied recordings of his previous battles. She noted his patterns, his tendencies, the way he always pressed forward, always attacked, always tried to overwhelm opponents with pure aggression. He was strongest when his enemy stood and fought. He was weakest when they moved, when they made him chase, when they refused to give him the direct confrontation he craved. She would not give him what he wanted. She would make him earn every inch. And when he overextended, when his aggression outpaced his judgment, she would be ready. The arena was packed on the day of the thousands of had come to watch. The central platform was a circle of polished stone, 30 meters across. Ancient symbols marked its edges. This was sacred ground. Whatever happened here would be binding. Entered first. He wore no armor, only traditional fighting wraps around his hands and feet. His gray fur gleamed. His muscles moved like water beneath his skin. He looked like what he was, a predator in his element. The crowd cheered for him. Entered second. She was smaller than him by a full head. Her silver fur was bright under the arena lights. She had wrapped her own hands and feet, but she looked fragile compared to his bulk, like prey that had wandered into the wrong place. The crowd murmured, worried sounds, doubting sounds. The elder who would oversee the match stepped forward. This concerns the authority of alpha female to countermand military personnel assignments. Lord challenges this authority. The combatants will fight until one yields or is unable to continue. Do both parties accept these terms? I accept, said. I accept, said. Then begin. Attacked immediately. He crossed the distance between them in 3 strides, claws extended, teeth bared. He was fast, faster than something his size should be. Barely dodged, spinning away at the last moment. He pursued, she retreated. He struck, she deflected. Again and again they circled the arena, pressing forward, giving ground. The crowd grew restless. They wanted blood. They wanted a real fight. What they were getting looked like a slow execution. Landed a blow. His claws raked across his shoulder, drawing blood. She stumbled. He pressed his advantage, driving her toward the arena's edge. Another blow, her ribs this time. She felt something crack. The pain was enormous, but she kept moving. She was losing, everyone could see it. Was too strong, too fast, too skilled. It was only a matter of time. Then appeared at the arena's edge. He did not call out, he did not interfere. That would have forfeited the match. He simply stood there in the front row, watching. His face was calm, his eyes never left her. Caught his scent across the 30 meters of stone. Sweat and fear and something else. Something that cut through the pain and exhaustion and filled her with warmth. Belief. He smelled like someone who believed she could win. Not because she was an alpha, not because of her rank or her genetics or her power. He believed in her because he had seen who she was, and he thought that was enough. She stopped retreating. Charged again, triumphant, sensing victory. He swung a massive blow that should have ended the fight, but was no longer where she had been. She moved, not away but sideways, into his attack instead of out of it. Her smaller body slipped past his guard. Her feet hooked his ankle. Her shoulder drove into his knee. He stumbled, off balance for the first time in the fight. She did not give him time to recover. Every lesson she had learned in diplomacy, she applied now. She had spent her career finding leverage against opponents who seemed stronger. She had toppled governments with patience and precision. Was just another problem to solve. She struck his weak points, the joints, the pressure points, the places where size and strength meant nothing. She made him chase her and punished him each time she let him exhaust himself against her refusal to stand still. The fight lasted another 20 minutes. By the end, was bleeding from a dozen small wounds. His breathing was ragged. His attacks had slowed to clumsy swings that she avoided easily. Finally, she saw her opening. He lunged, her arm wrapped around his throat, her legs locked around his body. She squeezed. Thrashed, he was still stronger than her. He could still break free if he kept his composure. But his pride would not let him think. His rage made him stupid. He wasted his energy on wild movements that only tightened her grip. 10 seconds, 20, 30. Yield, said in his ear. Yield and this ends. For a moment she thought he would rather die. His body tensed for one final effort. Then the tension drained out of him. His hand tapped the ground 3 times, the signal of surrender. The elder's voice rang out across the silent arena. Lord has yielded. Alpha female is victorious. Released him and stood. Her body screamed with pain. Her shoulder was still bleeding. Her broken ribs made every breath agony. But she was standing and was on the ground. She looked across the arena he was smiling. A small, quiet smile, the smile of someone who had never doubted. She smiled back. The crowd erupted. The council chamber had not seen this much chaos in 300 years. Stood at the center of the room. Her wounds had been treated, her ribs wrapped tight with healing mesh. She still wore her fighting wraps, stained with blood both hers and Ant's. She had come straight from the arena without changing. The council had demanded her presence immediately. 12 elders sat in a half-circle before her. Their faces showed shock, confusion, anger. Their scents were a storm of conflicting emotions. None of them knew how to process what had happened. You have made a mockery of our traditions, the eldest of them said. His name was, and he had opposed since the day she took her position. That was meant to restore order. Instead, you have created chaos. I followed every rule, replied. I accepted the challenge, I fought, I won. Where is the mockery? The mockery is why you fought, leaned forward. We know about the human. We know you have been spending time with him. We know that your interference with Lord's transfer order was personal, not professional. And this is unacceptable behavior for an alpha female. You have allowed a personal attachment to interfere with your judgment. You have risked your position, your reputation, and the stability of this station for a maintenance worker of an inferior species. Let the insult pass. She had expected it. If I had lost you would have been right to criticize me, she said. But I won. The challenge is settled. My authority stands. Your authority stands over personnel assignments, another elder said. But your fitness for command is a separate question. An alpha female who bonds with a human, she shook her head. It cannot be done. It has never been done. The bond response is genetic. It cannot activate for had been waiting for this moment. With respect, elder, you are wrong. She pulled a data chip from her belt and placed it on the table. This contains my biological readings from the past 30 days, hormone levels, pheromone responses, neural activity, everything required to document a bond response. The elders looked at each other. What are you saying? Demanded. I am saying that my bond response has activated, fully and completely, and it was triggered by the human. Silence, absolute complete silence. That is impossible, said finally. It is documented, pointed at the data chip. Have your scientists review the readings. They will confirm what I already know. The bond response is not purely genetic. It can be triggered by sense signatures that communicate emotional and psychological compatibility. Human biochemistry is uniquely suited to produce such signatures. She let that sink in before continuing. For my entire adult life, I have waited for a bond response that never came. I met every eligible male of our species and felt nothing. I began to believe I was defective, broken, but I was not broken. I was simply waiting for something our society did not know was possible. An elder named spoke up. She was younger than the others, more open to new ideas. If what you say is true, the implications are enormous. Humans could be compatible with any species that bonds through scent. Yes, nodded. They are not just useful for manual labor. They are not just convenient trading partners. They are potentially compatible with dozens of species across the galaxy. Their emotional complexity makes them universal. The council exploded into argument. Some demanded more evidence. Some called for it to be examined by scientists. Some insisted the whole thing was a trick, a deception, a political maneuver. In the middle of the chaos, the chamber doors opened. Walked in. He had not been summoned. He had no right to be there. Guards moved to intercept him but raised a hand and they stopped. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I heard you were in trouble." He looked around at the elders, at their hostile faces and suspicious eyes. "Figured you could use some support." "You have no standing in this chamber," snapped. You are not even a citizen of this station. You are nothing." Looked at the old elder. He did not flinch. He did not bow. He just stood there, calm and steady like a stone in a river. "I'm the guy she chose," he said. "That makes me something." Felt her heart swell. This small, furless creature, facing down a room full of hostile aliens defending her right to love him. He had no power, no weapons, nothing but his own quiet courage. And it was enough. "Bring him forward," said. "If we are to evaluate this claim, we should hear from both parties." Walked to stand beside. He was so much smaller than her, so much smaller than everyone in the room, but he stood straight and met their eyes without fear. The elders asked him questions. How had he met? What did he know about bonding? Did he understand what was being claimed? He answered simply and honestly. Yes, he understood. No, he had not sought this. Yes, he cared about, not because she was powerful, not because she could give him anything, just because she was herself. "What do you want from this?" demanded. "Status, wealth, a place among our elite." "No," shook his head. "I just want to know one thing." He turned to, "Do you want a partner or do you want proof that you were right? Because I'm only interested in one of those." It was the same question he had asked before, the question she had been unable to answer. Now she could. "I want a partner," she said. "I want someone who sees me instead of my rank, who walks beside me instead of behind me, who chose to be good when the galaxy gave him no reason to be." She reached out and took his hand. "I want you not as a weapon, not as proof, just as you are." The chamber went silent again, but this time the silence felt different, less hostile, more uncertain. Spoke first. "This is unprecedented. We have no laws governing such a union, no traditions, no guidance." "Then we make new ones," said. "Our species traveled across the stars. We built stations like this one. We adapted to 1,000 new challenges. Surely we can adapt to this." The debate continued for hours, but could already see the tide turning. The scientific evidence was too strong to dismiss. The political reality was too complex to ignore. And the sight of her, bloodied and unbowed, standing hand in hand with a human who refused to be intimidated. It meant something, even to those who wished it did not. In the end, the council gave its reluctant approval. The bond would be recognized. The union would be legal, would keep her rank. The ceremony was held 3 days later, not in the grand hall where traditionally bonded, not with hundreds of witnesses and ancient rituals. They held it in the small maintenance break room on level 7 where ate his lunch, and a handful of other friends attended. They exchanged simple promises, human style. Afterward went back to work. A young officer stopped him in the corridor. "Are you truly the alpha female's bondmate?" Shrugged, "I guess so." "But you are still cleaning. Someone has to keep the lights on." He pushed his cart past the confused officer and continued down the hall. Behind him, somewhere in the diplomatic wing, felt his contentment through the bond. She smiled in the middle of a negotiation session, and her aides wondered what had changed. Everything had changed. And nothing had changed at all. The galaxy would tell stories about them. the alpha female who spurned every male until she caught the scent of a human custodian. Scientists would study them. Politicians would debate them. Other species would wonder if they, too, might find unexpected connections with the strange, emotional, chaotic humans. But they did not care about stories. They cared about each other. They cared about building something real in a galaxy that often felt fake. They cared about proving, every day, that love was not about power or genetics or status. It was about choice. And they had chosen each other.